Hello, friends. Today's episode is brought to you by From Within Records. FYA 10 is just a few short weeks away. Dimension 6, Warren, and Envision will be representing From Within Records that weekend. So please make sure to stop by the From Within Records table. There's going to be new hats, shirts, hoodies, zines, and a whole lot more. So please, if you're going to be at FYA 10, please go support From Within Records. Also, February 3rd, another Bob Wilson joint, Scarab, Warren, double record release show. It's going to be insane. So please go grab a ticket before it sells out. It's going to be at a small venue. It's going to be an awesome show. Scarab, Warren, Division of Mine, Burning Lord, and Discontent. If you're not following From Within Records on social media, please go boot up X or Instagram and click that follow button to stay up to date on all the current news. And like I always say, please support From Within Records because they support us. If you're looking for high quality merch for your band or for your business, please hit up my friends over at Good Fortune Printing out of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. You can follow them on Instagram at Good Fortune Printing, or if you want to get in contact with them, please email them contact@goodfortuneprinting.com. You can thank me later. Before we get into today's guests, I'm back from Bogota. I appreciate all the support that everyone's been showing on the Bogota vlogs. Day 1 and day 2 are out now. Day 3 and day 4 are coming very soon. Day 3 is the last day of the fest, which is awesome. And day 4 is my final day in Bogota. Did a little bit more sightseeing with the homies Jeff and Carl Gunhouse. And then you get to see my travels through the Panama airport, which was very interesting. But I'm very happy to be back. But I want to give a huge shout out to Carlos, to Raw Brigade, to the whole entire, Bogota scene. It was definitely something that I will always remember. It exceeded my expectations, and I definitely am looking forward to going back next year. So if you're at all curious, go watch my vlogs. You get a small taste of it. Go to Feet First Productions YouTube page and watch all the videos that Jeff filmed while we were down there. Seriously, an awesome time, and I highly recommend it for anybody who is the least bit curious about hardcore in Bogota. I'm going back next year, so you should too. It's awesome, and it was really cool for me to be able to travel down there and finally get to experience hardcore internationally. And I have nothing but positive things to say. So please go support bands like Spit Out, one of my favorite bands from the fest. Obviously, Raw Brigade was awesome. And shout out to all the bands from the States who traveled down. It was really cool to see a lot of familiar faces and to see them get very similar reactions that they do here in the States. It was awesome. So once again, I highly recommend it, and I'm looking forward to going back next year. But on today's episode, we had to track down 2 members from a band called OUT4BLOOD, which I'm a huge fan of. If you're not familiar, I highly suggest you hit pause, go boot up your Spotify, your Apple Music, your Tidal, Bandcamp, whatever, and go seek out OUT4BLOOD. Very awesome band. I'm stoked to have been able to have discovered them and to have been able to have some of the members on the podcast. It was something very fun for me because before the podcast, 0 relationships. We were just strangers on the internet, but to be able to sit down and talk with them and build this relationship, it was awesome. I had a great time talking to them and getting to know about the history of OUT4BLOOD and just hearing about what's going on in their scene right now. It's so cool. So shout out to OUT4BLOOD and shout out to everybody out there in the Minnesota hardcore scene. So please strap in and enjoy this conversation. Without further ado, welcome Kyle and Jake from OUT4BLOOD to the show. we're recording. Welcome to the podcast. If you guys can please introduce yourselves.
My name is Jake. I play guitar in OUT4BLOOD.
And I'm Kyle. I front OUT4BLOOD. I'm the front man.
Thank you guys for being here today. This is so awesome because I'm like trying to rack my brain to remember who it was or how I stumbled across this, but I was just on X or Twitter, whatever you guys want to call it these days. But I was just scrolling through and I just saw your profile, Jake, and I wasn't sure if I was on the following or the For You page on Twitter, which I hate, or that's like the worst one. But I was just scrolling through and I saw your profile and somebody talking about OUT4BLOOD. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like, let me check it out. And just by chance, we have no prior relationship before me reaching out. I checked out the music and I was like, damn, this is sick. I was like, I wonder if they would do my podcast. So I reached out and I'm stoked that you guys are down, and I'm just a fan, and I'm happy to have you guys here today to talk about the band. So thank you.
Dude, thanks for having us. Yeah, it's really cool that you were able to find it like organically like that. Yeah,
it's so random. And because normally I'm like, pretty in tune. I try to be as in tune as I can when it comes to music across the world. But yeah, just somehow OUT4BLOOD just didn't come across my radar until I was on Twitter that one random day.
Hey, I'll take it. That's another reason for me to keep that horrible app.
That out of all the social medias, that's probably like my least used.
It's the most cancerous.
Okay, so I'm just curious for the origin of OUT4BLOOD. How did this whole band come together?
So, essentially, Alex, the drummer for OUT4BLOOD, and I play in another band called Rot. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit more on like the metalcore side of things. It's like if Kublai Khan and Stick to Your Guns had a baby kind of vibe.
Okay.
And he likes playing the music, but it's not like his passion. Like it's not the genre or style that he really loves to play. So he came to me late December, early January, and kind of was like, hey, I want a band. I want you to help me make a band for like the style that I'm after. And I was just kind of like, okay. So I wrote one song. Broken Blade was the first song written. And we needed a vocalist at that point, because we were like, we can find another guitarist or bass player in the city pretty easily, but finding the right person to front your band is a completely different decision to make. And Kyle had just moved from Florida, but like a few months prior,
like 3 months prior. Yeah.
And so Alex and I were just kind of talking like, well, shit, we should ask him if he wants to front a band. He has good energy and we feel like it would be a good fit. And it just kind of fell into place.
And I'm curious, which part of Florida did you move from?
I'm from Jacksonville.
Okay.
I lived there for the first 28 years of my life. And then I moved up here just kind of for a change of scenery.
Okay. And did you guys know each other before you moved out there?
We were like mutuals on social
media.
Stock mutuals. Like, haven't really held a conversation or anything.
Just like I see you, you see me, keep doing your thing.
And then I was like, when I decided to move here, I was like, oh, I know a couple of people live there, and Jake was one of them. So I messaged him before I moved. I was like, hey, I'm moving up that way in a couple of months. Like, let's hang out. Let's get food or something or whatever.
Ironically, I had told him, I was like, there's a lot of people out here that like want to start bands. So if you're like looking for that, you can probably find people to make a band with.
Little did we know we would be with each other.
That's crazy. And is there like a special relationship between Minneapolis and Jacksonville? Because I have a friend who used to go in between. So now I'm just like thinking about it. I'm curious.
We've been talking about this for a while because I'm from San Diego.
Okay.
So we're pretty sure that there's two options of transplants for Minnesota. It's either Florida or California.
And there's a snowbird effect too, of course.
Right. But there's the most transplants that you'll meet in Minneapolis are like majority are either from down in Florida somewhere or from California somewhere.
Interesting.
It's a very random kind of happenstance.
Yeah.
And which part of San Diego? Because San Diego is beautiful. I live in Orange County, but
Oh, do you?
know, yeah. So I
Okay.
have some friends that live down in San Diego.
So I grew up in a little podunk town called Ramona, which is like by like Julian, where like the pie company is and like all that shit. So like it's kind of in like the Escondido kind of area. So like when I usually just tell people, you know, San Diego, because that's way easier than explaining like 45 minutes east inland from the beach is where, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a little like cow pie high town called Ramona.
Okay. And how did you end up leaving the area and end up in Minneapolis?
So when I think I turned 19 and my parents were like, "Hey man, have you thought about moving out?" And I'm like, "You know what? I haven't. That's a good thing to look into. I should probably try and move out." And I started looking at like what my options were. And like the only way I was going to be able to move out is if I grabbed like 4 or 5 other friends. We all lived in like Lemon Grove, split a bedroom, you know, and it's just like as I'm going into like my early 20s, the thought of splitting a bedroom with a dude wasn't really high on my list of priorities just due to cost of living. So I started looking at other cities that had a lot of life downtown in general. Like I'm not a huge like I don't go downtown all the time, but I know that if downtown has people and activities, the likelihood of the surrounding cities being, you know, good is also fairly high. And it's also so much cheaper. So it's just active lifestyle in the cities. The music here was really strong, still is. We get good shows. We're technically an A market, whether or not people want to believe that or not. And yeah, just way cheaper. So just kind of lined up, hit all my bases.
Okay. And I'm curious about the scene out there because I watched the video from OUT4BLOOD's first show.
Yeah.
Shout out to, is it Noise Horse, if I remember correctly?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love the fact that you were shouting out like a bunch of the local bands and shouting out your friends that even traveled just to get to the first show. So can you talk about, you know, what the scene is like out there for you guys?
Yeah, so I'll speak on that a little bit because I'm kind of have my hands very much in it. Like I actually booked a show today. There's a show later today that I booked that we actually had to hop on last second because a couple of bands dropped. But yeah, no, the scene is really cool out here. When I first moved here, there wasn't really a lot of like hardcore bands. Really, there was 1 or 2, but I think I was talking to a couple of people because I wasn't here before COVID, but before COVID, like someone made a joke, like before COVID, there was like -4 hardcore bands here.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, I've got like a note in my notes app full of bands that are starting or about to start or about to drop demos and do their first shows. And then some of the bands that have been around for a little over a year are starting to put out like their second release. And I'll speak specifically for the band Gnaw. They're playing Flyover Fest this coming up weekend, which I'll be attending. So I'm really looking forward to that. I know the band All of God's Children is changing their direction a little bit to like being way more metalcore. And from the clips that I've seen so far, it sounds really, really sick. Yeah. So I don't know when they're putting that out, but I think it'll be fairly soon. Another band that shares a couple of members with Gnaw and All of God's Children is a band called Whack. It's our friend Noah's band, who also does Future Sight Records up here. And Whack is very cool. It's very just like kind of straightforward hardcore.
Yeah.
I can't really pinpoint like a specific band that would match it very well. But it's that stuff's really cool too. I can't speak on a whole lot of other bands right now because a lot of them don't have recorded music yet.
But they're grinding. They're putting there's
people putting in work, like trying to make new bands and write new music right now.
Oh yeah.
And it's really cool. This band isn't specifically from the cities. They're technically from outside of the cities, but they're by all means honorary Twin Cities band. Can't say enough about Identity Crisis.
Yeah, they're all like, you know, anywhere from like 15 to 17 years old, and they're some of like the most talented kids I've ever seen play music. They get the genre so well. They just, for whatever reason, these kids just have punk and hardcore in their pocket and they just get it. And it's cool as shit to see.
Yeah.
All right.
The drummer Silas is actually filling in for us later today because our drummer's in California right now.
Oh, interesting. California vacation. Can you speak on it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's in Temecula.
Oh, good old Temecula. That's okay. I've been there a couple times.
Yeah.
They used to have this interesting venue in Temecula. It was like short lived, but it was called like the Firehouse, and it was like some old like theater. Okay. So
I've been there.
Okay,
I've
so
been there.
You're familiar. Yeah, I saw like As Blood Runs Black there. I saw Underneath the Gun. Yeah, crazy venue.
We were probably at a lot of the same shows. I'm not gonna lie.
That is wild, but interesting. Okay, but I'd love to hear the it sounds like the youth is putting in a lot of work out there, which I think is very important, because sometimes new kids will show up to the scene, that they'll have fun going to shows, but sometimes they might think that they can't contribute that way, right? They think being like in a band,
it's almost out of their reach.
Exactly. Exactly. But it's really awesome to hear that out there. It sounds like a lot of them were just so passionate and wanting to, get involved. And
they're hungry.
Yeah.
They're so hungry.
And I think that's really important. And I always try to encourage everybody. Like, whenever I go to shows, see some new kids, I always just try to say what's up, dap them up, or, if kids ever want to talk or whatever, like, I never want to be too cool for anybody.
Fuck no.
Yeah. I will say, where I'm from, Jacksonville, I won't say it's not welcoming, but it doesn't necessarily
promote growth.
It doesn't promote that. It hasn't really promoted that much growth in the past. Like there's like a little bit of infighting here and there, and I'll keep it at that. But and I've seen that with other scenes too. Like it's not a unique experience. There's other scenes that aren't like super like welcoming or like really like willing to like get people involved to stay around. I just think that I can't really speak on it too much for the modern day. But because nowadays I do kind of see like a lot of people are more welcoming, because I recognize, oh wow, like we need to have the next generation ready to go, or else this is going to die out. Like when we get too busy and we can't do this anymore, or whatever might happen. The first thing I noticed when I moved here is that there was a lot of young people, but there wasn't a lot of young people that were starting bands. So I wanted to when I got here, I wanted to make sure if I was going to be involved in doing stuff in the scene, I wanted to make sure that I was contributing to a healthy way of people recognizing hey, you can do all of this stuff, and I will put on for you. There's these kids in this band Sucker Punch. They're playing their first show tonight at the show that we're playing. Okay. And all of those kids are at every single show going ape shit. So it's a no-brainer. Yeah. So and that's the kind of thing I love to do. If you're supporting your scene or supporting what I'm doing, it's my right to just return the favor. That's how you keep things strong and well knit, and you have a strong community.
The music scene's a plant. If it, like anything else, if you water it and give it enough love, and you actually are welcoming, it'll grow. Yeah. But if you neglect it and you don't water it and you don't give it that attention, it'll die. So
or you let bugs eat it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a pretty big role to take on to book shows. Can you talk about how you got into doing that?
Well, yeah. So I will say, off rep, I'm absolutely not the only person doing it. Mm-hmm. I am not even the primary person who's doing it. I got to give credits to our friend Noah, who does that, who's in Black and All of God's Children, and does Future Sight. He puts in a lot of work for booking shows.
Also,
this Snow and Flurry team as a whole, they also put in a lot of work to book cool shows too. But yeah, I just kind of saw it as an opportunity. I wanted to have a heavy focus on booking shows, trying to get regional bands kind of coming here more often.
Yeah.
Noah and the Future Sight team definitely focus more on the touring aspects. I don't necessarily have those kind of connections, but I can get if I can get regional bands up here as a one of, and just kind of build up a regional interconnection between scenes. I feel like that's something that's really important to help multiple scenes grow, because if we have here in Milwaukee that are tight, that's a good connection. If here in Des Moines are tight, if here in Omaha, Nebraska are tight, and then Des Moines and Omaha and whatever might have you, I feel like that's a really important thing to grow a scene on a regional level. And I feel like that can be just as important as having it run on a local level too. So that's kind of like the thing that I saw whenever I was booking shows. I was like, okay, what bands within like a 5 to 6 hour drive distance from here that I can pull for one-ofs are like cool and can do that and can pull that kind of thing off. And I kind of want to focus on that. And we have enough local people starting bands and enough local bands to where we can fill the shoes for the rest of the shows. But that's kind of something I really wanted to get my feet wet in, because I haven't booked many shows like this. I think since I moved here, tonight is the first show that I booked like all by myself. Before that, I've helped with Jake with booking some of the OUT4BLOOD stuff. And then I booked like a last minute snuffed on site show with my friend Louie, who's in a band called Cold Peace. Also, Cold Peace is a really good band. I want to check them out too. And we booked that like last minute, like with 4 days notice. And
we had like what, 130? Yeah,
130 people showed up to that. So
4 days notice. So
that's awesome.
Doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a show that I'm going to later tonight. And it's projected to be really bad. The touring bands know that, just because it was like the show just got passed around. The original venue got broken into, so it closed down. And and apparently the lineup, not everyone was on the same page. So like literally like 90% of the lineup dropped. And then I got hit up like literally like 3 or 4 days before, and it was just like, hey, can you help get us some bands? And it's just like, it was like the worst time, because like, you know, people are on tour or in the middle of recording, and it's just like not like basically nobody was available to do something like so last minute. But one band was, and it's just like, we're all just going to the show tonight just to hang out and have fun. Like nobody's expecting this to be a blowout, just because it was such a shit show just to even get together. So we're just like kind of happy that we made it to the day the show's happening. It's like cool. Right. If one person shows up, we're stoked. But it's crazy. I like booking shows is such a stressful thing, but it's also but it's also really fun too, because like just having the ones that go well, it's a nice feeling where you're able to kind of step back and be like, wow, this is so cool that everybody's here for this awesome moment.
Yeah, and just being able to bring like-minded individuals together in a room is powerful in and of itself, regardless if it's music or for fighting for, you know, political stances or whatever it is. Just having those people around you that are like-minded individuals just to gather in a room is massive.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And
just like curious about OUT4BLOOD, you guys put out a lot of material this year, which is awesome for someone like me who enjoys the band. But is there going to be a point where you guys next year take a break, since you guys have put so much out this year, or is it going to be this continuous drop of music?
So right now we're working on a 5-song EP. We're gonna go down to Omaha and record with our buddy Ryan Harvey. He's done a bunch of records. He did the first I Am record, and he did the first Kublai record, or the full length. He's just touched a bunch of really rad records, and just beyond that, the dude is just super chill, super nice guy, really good at helping bring the best and most creative part of you out. So we're going to go do a 5-song with him. And then my guess is that we'll probably do kind of a similar attack, is, release a 5-song Q1. And then as Q2 and 3 come along, just drop singles as we go, because we don't have anybody telling us what we can do or what we can't do. And a lot of the songwriting it's collaborative, but it happens on such a spontaneous kind of moment. Was it? Is it Reaper's Gaze?
Yes, dude.
So
holy crap.
Alex and I, we wanted to write a song, but we also wanted to grill food and get drunk. So Alex came over and we started writing Reaper's Gaze, and slowly throughout the night just got blackout hammer drunk. There's there's a window right here, and we put the grill right outside the window so we could leave it open and watch the food from the room while we were writing. And just at the end of the night, we were like, well, we'll print this out and we'll come back to it in the morning and see if it passes like the next day test. Because, you know, you write something in the moment and you're like, this is sick, this is awesome. But if you go listen to it, you know, the next day at noon, you're like, ooh, this might suck, actually. We listened back and we were like, wait, we were able to do that in that state. So like, it's kind of like songs get written just on the fly. Mm-hmm. At this point, we probably have like 4 incomplete songs that just like we're focusing on the riffs and making sure that it's actually up to our standard to release
and cohesive.
And cohesive, not just a hodgepodge riff salad. But yeah, my guess is that, back to the actual question, is that chances are we're probably gonna drop breadcrumbs the whole year.
Okay, I like that strategy, because you kind of stay on the radar of everybody, right? Because you start strong, and then obviously with like the rest of the world, music's constantly coming out, but for you guys to pop in every now and then just to kind of remind people like, hey, like we're still here doing awesome stuff. It's pretty cool. Like,
you can only listen to a 2-minute and 20-second song so many times. Like, even if it's your favorite song on the fucking planet Earth, like you can only listen to that song so many times until you're like, okay, I need something else. I can't drive this song into the ground anymore, or I will start to hate it. So kind of the thought there is, if I can give you 7 songs to kind of hyperfixate on and cycle through and be like, oh, this is my new favorite right now. Oh, this one is my new favorite right now. Instead of being like, well, I listened to their whole album 4 times on the way to work, And
I wanted to ask about, you mentioned Broken Blade was the first song that you guys wrote. Can you talk about how you chose the samples in it, and can you talk about what the song is about?
I'll speak a little bit on what the song is about. The song is very much so about like, it kind of has a dual meaning. It kind of coincides with politicians and police, and how they put up this kind of like facade of like they're there for you and they want what's best for you. And it time and time again, like we get shown that like that's absolutely not the case. Police are generally just there in a place of power to protect the wealth of like the upper class. And we see it time and time again that politicians are kind of here to do the same thing. They only really care about lining their pockets. And, while I feel like some people might go into politics like with good intentions, thinking they can make a change, they get corrupted. And I've unfortunately have seen that myself with a few select politicians that I actually had a good feeling about up until recent events with the Israel-Palestine conflict, that it really disappointed me. And, it kind of opened my eyes even more to the fact of, what I wrote Broken Blade about. The name Broken Blade is kind of a nod to how, it's kind of a nod to like knighthood and how people view certain members of society as like protectors, and how some people view police and politicians as protectors, people who are there to keep you safe and like do right by you. And when knights wield the blade, like they're there to protect and like serve and everything like that. But if their blade is broken, they're useless. So politicians and police are a broken blade. And unfortunately we see it to a point to where it's not just from a place of not acting, but it's from a place of acting in a way that is very damaging to families and communities and different facets of society. And a lot of people like that in earlier times would get revolted against and be executed for acting that way. And so there's a line that where I put like, your head under the blade is a necessity, a false sense of protection is all you'll ever be. And that kind of goes to the fact of like, there needs to be real change, and like we're living under a ruling class. Like the average person is living under a ruling class, and they need to realize they could very easily be removed from that if we decided to do something about it.
The sample is Hattori Hanzo from Kill Bill. I don't know if you're familiar with the Kill Bill series at all.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite Tarantino film, if I'm being honest.
Excellent. Yeah. So, and like the monologue is talking about how he took an oath and he doesn't want to make something that kills, but this is the finest sword he's made, and if you were to come across God, it would cut God.
That's so sick. I love that you guys use samples, because it's always been a thing in hardcore, but I always think it's cool when bands do that, because I feel like it makes the song just like that much more special.
I think it also takes a little bit of like thinking like you're super serious out of it, like, yeah, we wrote the song, and then we're like, well, also, what if we put a sample in here? Wouldn't that be fun?
It's a fun little time.
Yeah, I feel like it removes a little bit of like the I guess cool guy aspect of like, I write hardcore songs with hardcore breakdowns, and
Yeah, I feel like I got that from you guys when I looked at the cover for Another Poison. Because obviously these days that mascot Joe Camel, he used to be on TV and like heavily promoted, but you can't do that these days. But I was just curious, nope. Whose idea was that? Because I thought that was hilarious.
So that's our guitarist Chris. He loves Joe Camel. Okay. He loves it. He has doesn't he have a sweat? Didn't his wife get him a fat Joe Camel sweater?
I think you're right. You're right.
For his birthday.
So, yeah.
So like the dude just loves anything that's like anything that is considered a bad thing, like smoking cigarettes or like, drinking and riding motorcycles.
Bad boy energy.
He's big bad boy energy.
Okay.
He works security at Sturgis Rally at the Buffalo Chip. So, and he does that he's been doing that for like, I think almost 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's definitely our bad boy.
Yeah. Great cover. And so that was one of the singles that you just dropped after the demo. Can you talk about what was there? Because obviously I'm like playing catch up, right? Because I just found out about you guys like
sure, totally.
like a month or two ago. Was that like strategically planned for a certain time, or was that just a random drop?
I think when it comes down to it, we let the demo kind of get as much steam as possible without us, every week for, months being like, have you listened to this? Hey, have you seen this? Have you checked this out? Like kind of just letting it grab its organic reach.
Yeah. Take its course. Yeah.
And then as soon as we felt like
it was kind of like
it had hit its peak of what it could do by itself, we wanted to be like, well, those 3 songs are pretty sick, but we also have this other song that's a little different, but still in the exact same vein. And it's a little more like, has a little bit more groove to it. Yeah, I think realistically, when it comes to dropping music for us, it's we let something take its organic toll and it grab its organic reach. And as soon as we feel like that's done all that it can do, we're like, all right, here's something new.
Okay. Yeah. I like it. And you mentioned Reaper's Gaze earlier. That was on a compilation.
Yep. So and that goes back to our buddy Noah, who runs Future Sight. It's a compilation. He grabbed a bunch of Minnesota bands and just had them all put together, either a new song or just an old song that could be featured on the compilation. And there was like a few setbacks on the release date for that. So we kind of asked him like, hey, do you care if we release this onto our Spotify and we put like we made like a little fake sticker for it. So it like says, exclusively on Future Sight Records compilation, trying to like help drive some eyes towards that. And I think it worked out really well.
Yeah.
The compilation's really good. All the bands on it are incredible.
Yeah, it really is. It's not out. The compilation isn't like out on streaming or anything. I think he might put it on a Bandcamp, but he made like a compilation CD for
like
it.
Physicals.
Yeah. And
Okay.
those did really well locally, I think.
That's awesome. And yeah, locally, I also wanted to ask, when I watched that video from your first set and the kids were going off, I thought that was really cool because sometimes a band will have their first show, doesn't matter who it is, it might not, be that active. So
Totally.
I think it was really cool for kids to, be in tune with the music and, show you guys that kind of love for your first show.
We were really excited to just play the songs because they're just fun to play. And then on top of that, I remember we had a conversation of, cause in O4B, it starts out with like the big gang chant and it's just shouting out for blood. We had a conversation about, should we, like we being, the guitarists and bassists or whatever, should we be doing the gang chants into the mic? And we kind of stopped and we were like, no, I think we just need to let it be organic. Like if people want to do the chant, that's awesome. I love that. But I also don't want to like force that, if somebody connects with the music enough that they want deep in their chest to try and steal the mic and yell that's incredible. But I don't want to sit there on the stage and like kind of like shepherd you into it, I want it to feel natural for you. Because if it doesn't feel natural for you, it's not going to feel natural for me either.
Yeah.
And fortunately, like for a couple of other songs that we've written, there have been parts like that where people have done pile-ups and like shout outs and stuff like that were not even intended to be that when we wrote the song.
Yeah, like the end of Poison or some of the chants in Heart Goes Cold.
And a little bit of Reaper's Gaze too. Yes. Some of that wasn't even like intended to be that kind of thing, and it just wound up being that thing anyways. And
which is incredible. We're super fucking thankful that A, people listen at all, and B, listen with enough intent to download those lyrics into their head and then just have them in their brain. So whenever they, if they make it out to see us, they're already ready to just steal that mic. Yeah. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, and I think it's important too that you guys put the lyrics up, right? Because there's a lot of bands where they'll do what I think is the bare minimum, right? They'll just upload the songs and cool, it's up there. Go figure it out. But I feel like to provide people with all the information and to have the lyrics there, so people can learn them, because people want to know what you're saying, right? When people listen to music, they want to be able to fully understand and try to analyze and for the super fans, pick things apart. So for you guys to to give us all the tools to do that, I think that's a really great thing.
Okay. Yeah, that was a big thing when we put everything up too, is like I had been seeing for years like people griping online about how bands don't put their lyrics up online. I was like, all right, we're putting all of our lyrics on Bandcamp. Like there's no question about it.
I think a lot of bands do it to secure ambiguity in their lyrics so that it's vague enough that without context you can apply it to your life however you like. And I feel like if you're writing solid enough lyrics, or just if you write solid at all, I think that it's still applicable even if you give all of the subtext and all of the clues and all of the information and lyrics on the song. I still feel like people can take and apply that to their life how it fits them best, regardless.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's well said. Yeah. I feel like that's pretty accurate too.
100%. And I'm also curious, are you in like some sort of studio right now? Or
so I have a little studio built in my house. It's nothing crazy, just a super simple box with like a vaulted ceiling that cruises up. Mm-hmm. I do audio engineering and production for bands all over the states and locally. So I do all of our recordings have been done in my house.
That's awesome. I love that you have that capability. How'd you get into that?
I started before I moved out of California. I worked with a buddy of mine. His name is Harold. And I started as an intern in a studio, just kind of like cleaning up cigarette ashtrays and doing food runs and shit like that. And slowly got into like helping edit and set up, and then slowly started doing my own shit. And I played a show with Harold, and he was also doing this in his house at the time. And he kind of approached me and he was like, yo, I heard you have like an actual studio that you work out of. We should work together. And I was like, great, sounds good. He taught me so much. It's unbelievable. He actually moved out here. He's a tattoo artist, about an hour north of the cities. But yeah, I started there. And then when I moved out here, there was a lack of accessible studios, just because, when you're 18, 19, 20, you're working a job and probably all of your money is going to, a car payment or insurance or your rent, however you're splitting it with your 9 roommates or whatever. So like there just wasn't really accessible studios for cost. And I just wanted to make that available to people that wanted it. Like, it sucks to spend so much time on your art and on your music, or if it's not music, whatever, if it's a painting or whatever, and not having it come out the way that you hear it in your head, just because of the tools available to you aren't the quality that you want them to be. I don't think that should get in anyone's way of creating. Same with like a painter. Like, yeah, they could have a perfect, beautiful painting in their head, but if all they can paint on is newspaper, it's probably not going to come out the way that they have it envisioned as if it would on like a really nice canvas. So just kind of providing tools to people that are taking their art seriously. And it's not, I don't really subsidize my bills with it. It doesn't bring me in a bunch of money to like help pay rent or whatever. It brings me some change. I can get my dog some food and get myself some groceries every now and then off of it. But realistically, I just keep doing it because I don't know. I think just helping people that don't have access to it is important.
Yeah. I think it's a good skill to have. So for you to be able to not only record your own stuff but help out other people, I think it's really, really cool, because like everything I do here for like the podcast that I do, like I'm not a professional. Everything that I learned is from YouTube and Reddit.
Hey man, the school of YouTube is maybe one of the greatest schools ever invented.
Yes, YouTube has taught me a lot. Taught me how to tie a tie, helped me fix my old Honda Civic back in the day. So
this guy knows.
Yeah,
this guy knows.
YouTube is awesome. But you guys put out a split with Free for All called Blood for All, which is awesome. I think splits are cool, and it's nice to see bands that are friends be able to come together and do cool stuff. Can you talk about how that split came together, like whose idea it was?
So it's actually crazy. It's a crazy funny coincidence. When we played our first show, we had the 3 songs from the demo, and then we had 2 other songs we were playing, which are Anti Up and Heart Goes Cold, which were later came out on the demo or on the split with Free for All. So my friend Mace, who I've known for a few years, he plays drums in Free for All, and I had seen some stuff about Free for All on social media, and I checked them out, and I was like, oh, they use the number 4 in their name too, just like us. That's funny. And I was like, and then I sent it to the group chat one day. I was like, how funny would it be if we did a split with these guys? And then I shit you not, like maybe a week, 2 weeks later, they hit us up about inquiring about doing a split, and with no
crossover conversations whatsoever. No. It was just 2 separate camps being like, hey, look at this band. Hey, look at this band. Wouldn't it be fun to do a split? And they just took the initiative and asked us, and we were like, yo, we've got 2 songs ready to go, recorded and done, mastered.
Yeah.
Just whenever you guys have your tracks ready, let us know.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's cool though. I like that they reached out and you guys are down, because sometimes it can be like daunting for like a band to want to reach out to another band to work together. But I think it's cool that you guys were down to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think how we got on Free for All's radar. I said I'm friends with Mace, but like not everyone is always active on social media and sees what other people are doing all the time. So I think Ty from Free for All, I think one of his friends were like, hey, you checked out this band OUT4BLOOD from Minnesota? Like they're pretty sick. And he checked us out. And I think he kind of had the same train of thought as I did about like doing the split, but he we didn't even know each other yet, and he just kind of just reached out and said, yeah, let's do it. And like, you know, we had these 2 songs we didn't really know what we were exactly going to do with yet, and we were like, yeah, let's do a split. Sure.
And I am curious why the number 4 over the word 4.
Just kind of
Just fun.
Just kind of it's kind of just where we landed. Like, I don't know, having a letter instead of to replace like a word.
It also just in like shorthand, it something about O4B instead of OFB
Just kind of rolls off the tongue better.
It works a little better.
Mm-hmm.
It also looks cooler in because we had our logos, both the shorthand and the longhand, were done by a homie of mine from San Diego. He's just a dad, just a regular dude, but he's an insane writer. And so I just hit him up and I was like, hey man, you want to throw me together a logo, long form and short form? And he whipped up like, I shit you not, like 25 logos of each for us to choose from. And just like after looking at all of them, because he did one that was FOR and he did 4s as well.
Mm-hmm.
And just like looking at them, the 4 just looked a little bit cooler.
Yeah. No, I think about it. Whenever I like read your guys' name, it always reminds me of this like video game they played back in the day called Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, so I was like, I think it's cool, and I do enjoy that. Yeah, because sometimes I feel like replacing the word for a number doesn't always work out, but in your guys' case, I feel like it works out fine.
Yeah, we got really lucky with it. That's for sure.
100%. And you know, we're coming up on the end of 2023. Do you guys have like long-term plans or goals for next year?
Want to do a lot more touring. That's for sure. We did hit a 4-day weekender with Free For All and Identity Crisis back at the beginning of September.
Mm-hmm.
And we definitely, I think as it rolls into winter up here, our winters up here get pretty brutal. We're kind of going to chill for a couple of months after the end of the year. We've got one more show at the end of December, and then we're going to kind of chill the first couple of months,
Mm-hmm.
I think. And then we might have a little something going on in March. We'll see.
Okay. And is there a time frame for that 5-song EP that you guys mentioned earlier, or are you guys just kind of just working on it and just seeing how things play out?
Personally, I would like to have it out middle of March at the latest.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see.
Okay. So it's not like top priority?
It's the highest priority we have, because we don't necessarily like I would like to have that out by the time we hit our next out of state runs. Just because, you know, having new music along with a fresh, you know, run to go on always works out better for grabbing people than doing a run off of music that you released the prior year. Because a lot of times, you know, like there's probably a lot of people that don't like what we've released, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you might really like the next thing we release, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So like always giving that chance to come back and say, oh, nope, I still don't like this band, or, oh shit, this new stuff is crazy, I have to go see them.
Yeah.
And I like how you mentioned earlier about how, you know, you're booking shows and you want to kind of, you know, build these relationships with like the regional bands and the regional scenes. Do you think that way about touring?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So over the years before because this is kind of like the first band I've ever been in, first hardcore band definitely I've ever been in, where like it's been built kind of from like the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
There was a band that I used to, when I lived back in Jacksonville, that I filled in for a little bit on vocals, but it wasn't my thing. It wasn't like my baby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I went off on a little tangent there for a second. What was the question?
Do you think about touring the same way you do about how you book shows?
Building those regional connections.
Oh, yeah. So what I remember what I was doing. So like over the years, I've kind of like built up like a large roster of people that I just know that do different kinds of things all around the country, between like being in bands or their promoters or their tour managers or whatever. I just kind of built a roster of people that I've just built some just kind of even just surface level relationship with. Like we're just on good terms and like we know each other. And so, but not really so much like in the area of the Midwest that I'm in right now. So I knew if I was ever like in a band or if I ever wanted to book bands here, I would have a lot of connections in other places, but not really like directly near where I am. So I definitely wanted to get down into doing that really well because I knew like this was an area I was kind of lacking in knowing people in. So I definitely wanted to focus on it, and I did. And I feel like that was kind of the big driving force in like getting to know people regionally and building those connections regionally, because I knew in a lot of other places I already kind of had connections built. But yeah,
I'll also say like networking is your most powerful tool that you have as an artist of any kind.
Yeah.
If you are, if you pull up to the venue and you load in and then you just go sit by like just with your band by the van for hours until it's your time to play, you're missing out on these super valuable, and when I say valuable, I mean just human connection, regardless if they can help you or not. That means nothing, but these super valuable human connections are everything, especially in a DIY style scene or just any scene that isn't mainstream. Those connections are everything, because you're going to these towns that you may have never played in before, so you might not know a single soul there, but these people at some surface level know you, so you should probably go. They're giving you their time out of they could be doing anything. They could be at home making pancakes and throwing them against the wall. They could do whatever they want with their time, and they're choosing to come give that time to you. So I feel like it's a crucial thing to give that time back and create and make those foundation like relationships, because it'll only grow into something beautiful. Like there's really no downside to meeting and talking to people, whether it's a person that just came to the show, whether it's a local regional act that's playing the show that you're playing, whether it's the booking agent that booked it, the promoter, whether it's the person, if they have like, if there's a lot of places now that are like doing little like home cooked style meals that you can like get a tray of a meal, go talk to those people. They go ask them how long it took them to cook that. Like, just showing that you care at all is massively important.
I think it's also important to state too, like you never know, like somebody that might be at a show that you're at or like you're involved with or something, they might not be doing anything right this very second at all, but in 5 years they could be like a very important person for many different reasons. Mm-hmm. So I think it's always just important to just like be genuine, be yourself, be kind, be courteous to others, and that'll kind of come back around to help you. Because if you were that way with somebody and eventually one day like they remember like how well you treated them, it just kind of comes full circle for you. That might be a little bit of the Southern hospitality that I'm used to coming into my thought process, but that's kind of how I view things.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important to just be yourself, and I like when people are kind to people just to be kind, right? Not to get out or to get anything from them. That's right. Just like who they are.
Exactly.
So
it's not a transactional interaction in a relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I like what you said. Yeah, the kid that you're nice to just because that's how you are, they're not doing anything in the scene right now, but a couple of years down the road, they could be the next big band, and they'll remember that.
And
kindness.
They will be the next big band. It's exactly how it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, trust me. I've been around for a long time, so I've seen kids, who people used to call new jacks or whatever, and fast forward and they're in bands, and it's just like people were completely wrong. So it's just like I get it. Sometimes people want to judge certain people, but for me, it's just like, hey, I'm just happy kids are showing up. I don't care if they're new, old.
That part.
If people are showing up, like that's what we should be thankful for.
100%.
And like, I'll say, I've said this to a bunch of people, and like, give them enough time, kids are going to figure it out. Like, there's no reason to like be like a dickhead to kids or anything like that. Like, by one point or another, they're going to figure it out.
Fuck yeah.
If they keep coming around, they'll figure it out.
Neither of us stepped onto the scene and we're just like, had it figured out immediately. It took so many years to figure it out.
I had to figure some things out the hard way.
Yeah, I just had this dude on. He's in like a newer band. He's a younger kid, and I just gave him some advice. I was like, hey, I was like, the friends you have right now, like your real friends, the ones that have been around before your band started popping off, like hold on to those people because you're about to encounter a lot of fake people that are going to want to try to use you just because you're in a good band. Just be wary. And he's like, really? And I was like, yeah, trust me. I was like, not everything's nice. So just be careful who you let close to.
It's the human condition.
Yeah. People will come across people who consider all social interactions transactional. Yeah. And it's upsetting, but yeah. Yeah, it is strange and I feel like there's been times where it's gotten me so jaded where like I just didn't even want to like be around, or I couldn't even believe that I'm like a part of something like that. But been there.
Yeah, but I always had to like just grab myself and remind myself that when I got into this, it was because of the music. So I can't let people who aren't even like important to me, like aren't even really in my life, affect me that much. So I was like, all right, as long as there's good music and there's a scene, like I gotta just not let that stuff bring me down or even push me out.
Totally. It's really easy for one moldy piece of bread to infect the entire loaf, so it's super important to keep that mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And it's what kept me here, because I've seen, waves of bad people and, lots of good people too, right? I have a lot of friends who are a part of the scene, do really cool stuff for the scene. But there's just, it's sometimes it can be hard to navigate. So that's why I always just try to encourage people, hey, like, shit might get tough, but just remember why you decided to get into hardcore and why you wanted to support the scene.
Yeah, exactly. Perfectly put.
Okay. And as far as, any other projects you're working on, I know you mentioned Rot earlier. You guys have anything else?
Alex and I are in Rot. We just put out like a 7-song EP.
It came out back in September, right?
Yeah. Yep. And then Alex and I have this like an indie side project thing that's just like sad emo bullshit. And that we don't ever play shows with that live. It's just more of like a way to get a different outlet out, just wring the towel dry and reset. And that way it's fresh for our other projects.
Where can people listen to that online?
Yeah. It's just on Bandcamp. It's called All Right Later.
All Right Later. Okay. I got to check that out, because that's, because just like you guys, I'm sure we all listen to different types of music. I don't listen to hardcore 24/7. So I'm always interested to check out other types of music as well.
Totally.
For sure. As for me, I'm starting to pick up drums again. I've got a couple of projects that I've got in the works right now. Nothing near completely written yet, so I won't even mention it. So I'm just know I'm working on stuff on drums.
Okay. And is that, did you pick up drums because there's like a lack of drummers out there, or is it because something that you're passionate about before?
So yeah, I've played playing drums since I was like 15. I just kind of like, when I was 18, like life got in the way and I just kind of fell off of doing it. I didn't really have a lot of opportunity to be able to like play as much as I wanted to. And then when I moved here, like I did notice there also was a very much so shortage of drummers, as there is in a lot of scenes from what I've heard. And so I was like, okay, fuck it, I'll pick up drums again. And I just jammed with a couple of people the other night, and like things are looking like it's going in a cool direction. So, but yeah, I do like playing drums too, even though they are a little annoying to tote around.
There's for sure a drummer shortage. There's a reason that Alex and we just stick together, because I was about to say, we were like, okay, bass player and drummer that work well together. Okay, rhythm section's on lock. And then this is Alex and I were in another band where I played guitar. It was like a mid 2000 style metalcore band called While God Sleeps. Okay. So just like think breakdown core with just like 2007 riffs. But yeah, so that was the first band that him and I played guitar and drums together. So this would be the second time we've done that. But I've known Alex since like 2016, when my old band played with his old band, and they were recording with a dude, and they were like, yeah, it's going pretty well. We're not like super in love with the product that he's giving us. And I was like, send me the files. I'll set a timer and mix for 2 hours. If my mix is better than what you've been getting, pay him out for his tracking and then come finish the record with me. And that's what ended up happening.
It's wild. But I do like that you guys have that combo. You guys stick together because it's
It's important.
Yeah, because that seems to always be the holdup. Like, all right, there's a singer, there's a guitar player, bass player, but who the hell's gonna play drums?
Right? Do we hire Mr. MacBook? Like, what do we do?
Yo, I saw. Are you guys familiar with the band Rings of Saturn?
Hell yeah!
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I went to Whitechapel was on like an anniversary tour, and
Sick.
Rings of Saturn was on that tour, and they just didn't have a drummer. They just played like they just hit play on their like machine, and I was like, this is crazy. And I was really curious because like I don't listen to that band, but I was curious like, is this normal? Or are the fans here gonna like it? But people were going crazy.
Yeah, especially like so Rings of Saturn, especially that band. It's like you're there for the guitar. The guitar work in that band is everything. That is a guitar shred lick fest. Like that's basically 9 out of 10 people are there to watch or hear the guitarist of Rings just absolutely melt that stick.
I found out some very interesting lore about Rings of Saturn the other day. You guys want to hear it?
I'm interested.
Let's go.
From like 2010 to 2012, I think, or maybe it was 2013. The vocalist of Spy was the vocalist of Rings of Saturn.
The vocalist of Spy?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah, he used to be in the band. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And they have the craziest merch. Like when I was looking at their merch, like it's like 25 colors on one shirt. Yeah. I'm just like,
it has to cost $17 just to print the shirt. Like,
yeah. But
it's crazy.
Yeah, like when I saw them, they had a bunch of like Dragon Ball Super designs,
so sick,
which I thought was awesome. But it's like, I'm not like a fan of them. Like I'm just not into that kind of music. But I just saw them because I was there for Whitechapel.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was crazy.
Well, and I think that's one of the best ways to get somebody to even consider your band is like, they come to a show that you happen to be playing. They're not really there to see. They're not really their cup of tea, but they walk by the merch and they go, holy shit, look at that t-shirt. And then now you're in their head. Now they're thinking about it, enough to where you brought up a Rings of Saturn t-shirt and you don't even listen to Rings of Saturn.
Yeah. I was just so fascinated by it. And do you guys try to get like super technical, like with your merch, trying to like get like, do designs that, people are going to want to rock, or do you guys just do stuff what you think is cool? Like how do you guys approach that?
I would say it's a 50-50 because like Alex and I in every band we've ever been in have always subscribed to the idea that if you won't wear your own merch, nobody else wants to wear your merch. Like if you wouldn't happily put on one of your own shirts and strut around the city in it, nobody else is going to want to do that. So there's always this 50-50 of making sure that the merch that we think the merch is sick. It's something that we would wear, but also on the other hand, making sure that we don't get too tunnel visioned into just what we like. Because what we like isn't, the supreme, like end all be all of merch ideas, So like, I think we just print stuff that we think is fun or that we would be excited to go get ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to put it. Like it's pretty 50-50.
Not really super technical. We all put together merch ideas. I think the only one that we haven't done is we had our buddy John Mayo make us a design of he's got this like it's just this massive yoked dude, and he's got like this Poindexter nerd guy, and he's got him all wrung out like a towel. It's just like you can see like his bones cracking out and shit. And it's like stuff like that we wouldn't be able to do because we're not artistic in that sense. Mm-hmm. But when it comes down to finding a super dope graphic that we can alter and change and make our own, and then finding the right place to put the logo, etc. We've just been really lucky with our merch. I think people really see the vision that we want with it, and they're just as excited as we are when we get to like put something new on the table.
Yeah, I agree.
You guys had that design for the split. What was it on a t-shirt? The Mosh Department one?
Oh, yep. So both us and Free for All have like opposing team style. So theirs is a maroon shirt with like, I think it's like gray accents. And so it says, free for all mosh department with the helmet on it, the football helmet. And
But
so
they have maces. On
oh
theirs.
yeah, they have maces on. We have not.
We have
swords.
Yeah.
So we just thought it would be really fun to do kind of like a rival college kind of setup.
Mm.
And I'm not sure whose initial idea was that.
It was kind of I think it was Ty's idea
I think so.
originally, and then like we kind of just like I like passed it along to you guys, and you guys were like all in for it.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming those aren't available anymore.
No, I think we've got more of that than anything else right
Yeah,
now. We put in a big order for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we still have some of those left. We need to we should be actually adding those to our merch store pretty soon.
They'll be up by Monday.
Okay.
Awesome.
So there are some of those left if you want to buy one.
Yeah. Yes. I will buy one when you guys put them up.
They are printed on Bayside, by the way.
On what? I'm sorry.
Bayside.
I've never even heard of that. Bayside.
It's super good
it's
quality.
such a good t-shirt. It's the garment itself is we got them and we were like, yo, what if we only printed on Bayside from now?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, it's a really good garment.
Yeah, because normally whenever I do merch, it's on Gildan Hammer.
Yep.
That's a good one too.
And
Yeah.
Hammer's great because like Hammer only gets softer the more you wash it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I love a shirt that gets softer instead of, regular Gildan just turns into sandpaper after like 4 washes. Whereas Hammer just gets nice and soft and it starts to fit your body more.
Yeah, it's nice. And so you guys are like really involved in the process of your merch.
Yeah. Everything. We have a buddy. He plays guitar in a band called Ghost Bath. He does all of our printing so far. He works out of a spot called Cold Side Prints. If anybody in the cities is listening and wants good merch made.
Okay.
Yeah. He crushes it always.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to check out his work when I purchase a shirt because I'm stoked for that.
Well,
those ones are the only ones that he didn't do.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
the-
Okay.
Yeah, the Mosh Department ones, those weren't done by him. That was done by Backroom Prints in Oklahoma City.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So the rivals over there printed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to that. I appreciate both of you taking the time to do this. I know it's pretty early for you guys, so
It's all good.
No stress.
Yeah, it means a lot to me. But before we sign off, is there anything else you guys would like to say?
I want to shout out Beyond All Doubt from Arizona. I want to shout out Blistered Spirit from St. Louis. Primitive Rage from Springfield, Missouri.
Enervate from
Milwaukee. Spirit of Vengeance from Toronto. Man, we have so many friend bands. Like it's hard to remember them all, to be honest with you.
Okay. Anything from you, Jake?
I think the last thing that I've got is just saying thanks to anybody that gives us 5 seconds of their time. Anybody that comes to a show, I don't care if you're on your phone. If you're standing there and like giving me 5 seconds of your time to even be there at all is massive. So like, I don't know, just thanking people that give a fuck.
Yeah. Shout out to like everyone who like believes in our stuff. Cause like we released our stuff back in March and like it's where we're at, like not even being a year in is huge. Like, so I just want to say thank you to everyone who gives us the time of day. Yeah. It's been awesome. It's been an awesome year.
New music, new merch soon.
All right. Well, there you have it. Thank you both for doing the podcast today. Thank you everybody for tuning in and we'll be back soon.
Oh yeah.